We were 6 months into the situation, probably of getting back together. And out of nowhere, this interview comes out.
Cashville sent a youngin' to the top of the rap game. G-Unit made him family. Then in 1 year, the feds ran his whole crib, his big brother sold him out on live radio, and somebody pulled up on the highway with 11 shots. The real story of Young Buck is darker than you know. From Cashville to the top of the world, Nashville, Tennessee. When most people think of that city, they think cowboy boots and banjos. They think country roads and Taylor Swift. They don't think rap. They don't think the trap. But deep in the north side of Nashville, in the trenches where nobody from the industry was coming to look, a young kid named David Darnell Brown was putting in work. On the grind since age 12, spitting bars in a city that didn't even have a hip-hop lane yet. No cosign, no connections, no blueprint, just a youngin' with raw talent and enough hunger to eat the whole industry alive. And for a minute, he did exactly that. Born March 15, 1981 in Nashville, Tennessee, David Brown would go on to be known across the whole rap game by one name, Young Buck. His story hits different depending on which part you're watching. The first half, a come-up story so cold it should have been a movie. The second half, a slow-motion collapse so painful you almost don't want to keep watching. Fast money, platinum plaques, big brother energy from one of the most powerful men in hip-hop, and then a leaked phone call, a tax raid that ran his whole crib, and a legal nightmare that's been chasing him for 2 decades straight. But before all of that, before everything went left, there was the rise. And you can't understand how hard he fell without understanding how high he was sitting. Young Buck pulled up to Birdman's Cash Money Records back in 1997. 16 years old, fresh out the north side, and already on one of the hottest rosters out the south. That was supposed to be his ticket, but the streets don't care about your big break, don't care about your label deal or your plans. In the year 2000, Buck caught multiple shots in a home invasion and had to get a blood transfusion at Vanderbilt Hospital just to make it through the night. 19 years old, laid up in a Nashville hospital bed, fighting for his life. That's not a bar. That really happened. But Buck got up. He bounced from Cash Money, linked with Juvenile's UTP crew, kept his head down, and kept building his name. And then, the moment that changed the whole trajectory. In 2003, 50 Cent pulled Buck into G-Unit. Pause and think about what that meant in 2003. G-Unit wasn't just a rap group, fam. They were the wave. They were the culture. 50 Cent had just dropped Get Rich or Die Tryin' and was running the whole industry. Lloyd Banks, Tony Yayo. These were the guys who were living how everybody else was just rapping about. And now, a lil youngin' from Nashville was rocking with them. Cashville had never had a seat at that table. Buck built his own chair and sat down. The momentum was immediate and undeniable. Buck was on G-Unit's Beg for Mercy in 2003 and all over 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Tryin' soundtrack. Then in 2004, he dropped his debut solo album, Straight Outta Cashville, and went crazy. The project peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200, went platinum, and birthed classics like Let Me In and Shorty Wanna Ride. A kid from a city that hip-hop had never claimed, debuting at number 3 in the whole country and going platinum. He didn't just make it, he made history for where he came from. He had officially put Cashville on the map, but 2004 wasn't just platinum plaques and sold-out shows. There was a night that would follow Buck like a shadow for the rest of his career and nearly put somebody in the grave. November 15th, 2004, Vibe Awards, Santa Monica, California, an airport hangar loaded with about 1,000 people. Snoop and Vibe founder Quincy Jones were about to present Dr. Dre with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Should have been a legendary night. It turned into straight chaos. A 26-year-old man named Jimmy James Johnson walked up to Dr. Dre's front row table, acted like he wanted an autograph, then rocked Dre in the head when he got turned down. The whole room went crazy, chairs flying, bodies moving everywhere. Alicia Keys was sitting in that crowd. The whole thing popped off in seconds, and Young Buck, who had pulled up to the show with Dre, wasn't about to stand on the sideline and watch his OG get hands thrown on him. Video footage caught Buck with a knife. Eyewitness accounts, including from the show's own scriptwriter Cheo Hodari Coker, said Buck got into Johnson's chest during the melee. Johnson's lung collapsed. He was listed in stable condition. Buck dipped from the scene. In his own words years later, Buck said he was just riding for his people, protecting his godfather in the middle of a war zone. The law didn't see it that way. Police put out a warrant for assault with a deadly weapon. He turned himself in a few days later, posted a $500,000 bond, and caught the charges. By December 2005, he had worked out a deal. No contest to felony assault, likely to produce great bodily harm. 3 years probation, 80 hours of community service, no prison time. On the streets, riding for Dre like that was seen as loyalty on another level, a badge of honor in the culture. But underneath all of that, quiet and dangerous, was a felony on Buck's permanent record. And in the years ahead, that felony was going to cost him everything, For now, though, the career was still moving. His second project, Buck the World, dropped in 2007 and opened at number 3 on the Billboard 200. Back-to-back number 3 debuts. That ain't luck. That's a real artist with a real audience who was locked in. The music was authentic because the life was authentic. Buck wasn't cosplaying the struggle. He had been through it. But while the music was still running, something under the surface was cracking. The Buck the World era was when the G-Unit family started showing fractures. And it didn't start because Buck was out here doing anything grimy, at least not from where he was standing. It started with a business dispute between his manager and the man who had put him on.
At the time, Shaw was the president of the company, the manager of me, Banks, and Yayo. He wore so many different hats, bro. The producer, he did everything.
Shaw Money wasn't just a manager. He was the heartbeat of the whole operation. President of the label, producer, manager, all of it wrapped up in one. And more than the business, to Buck, this man was his day one.
Not only that, this is the only manager I know. Not only that, Shaw Money had became a best friend of mine. I'm the best man on this man's wedding.
Now sit with that for a second. 50 Cent is telling the whole G-Unit roster to cut Shaw loose. Banks and Yayo fell in line. But Buck looked at his best friend, the man he stood next to at his wedding, and said, nah. He wasn't cutting off family over a business dispute that didn't involve him.
No different than I think 50 was, and I didn't know their situations was that serious to the point where I needed to fire Shaw.
That loyalty, choosing his brother over his boss, flipped the whole script. 50 started freezing Buck out. While Banks and Yayo were on stage with 50 every night, Buck and Shaw were out there grinding Buck the World with no support, no platform, none of the machine behind them. And that's a major reason the second album didn't hit the way the first one did. It wasn't the music, it was the politics. The punishment was already underway, and this was only the beginning. Betrayal, a leaked phone call, and the day everything fell apart. There's a different kind of pain that comes from getting crossed by someone you actually love, getting played by an op. You see that coming. You're built for that. But getting done dirty by your big brother, somebody you broke bread with, laughed with, somebody you'd go to war for without even asking why, that cuts through the armor. That kind of wound don't close clean. Young Buck found that out the hard way, in public, with the whole internet watching. By early 2008, things between Buck and 50 had been ice cold for over a year. But then there was a window, a real moment where it looked like the whole family might be able to get back right. Buck tells the story himself, and it started with Shaw Money being the one to push for the conversation after almost 12 months of silence between Buck and 50.
So here it is one day in Phoenix, Arizona. Shaw tells me, yo, bro, we gotta put an end to this shit, bro.
They were posted up in a van in Phoenix, Arizona. Buck hadn't seen 50, hadn't even spoken to him in close to a year. And when Shaw finally got him on the phone, Buck let his guard down completely. He got emotional, but he wasn't being soft. He was talking to his big brother, the real one, the one who had put him on when nobody knew Nashville could rap.
I looked at 50 as a big brother, and I did become emotional on that phone call. But there's nothing wrong with crying.
And the call landed. Buck says 50's last words were something along the lines of, okay, we're going to get it together. We about to get this right. And just like that, the family was back on. They were back in the offices. Buck was back on the shows. Everything was moving the way it was supposed to move. Then an old interview came back to haunt him. Back in late 2007 and early 2008, Buck had given an interview where he said he had never once seen a royalty check or publishing money from his G-Unit work. Everything he made came from hitting the road. When that headline landed on 50's desk, 6 months into the reconciliation, it set off a chain reaction. Shaw jumped in to try to cool things down, putting out word that Buck had made over $10 million with G-Unit.
We were 6 months into the situation, probably of getting back together, and out of nowhere, this interview comes out.
But Buck says those numbers were never real. That was Shaw trying to put a lid on the pot before it boiled over, not an accurate picture of what Buck actually saw.
I ain't seen no $10 million. Even though that's probably what I later to find out.
50 Cent grabbed that $10 million number and weaponized it, ran with it everywhere. The story became, Buck got paid, blew all his bread, and now he's out here crying broke. That narrative spread like wildfire. Comment sections, interviews, radio, and Buck says not a word of it was accurate. Those were invented numbers. Shaw's attempt to plug the leak, not receipts from Buck's bank account. 50 hopped on Hot 97 and made it official, live on air, in front of DJ Envy, Miss Jones, and Michael. Sean, April 2nd, 7, 2008. You can take this as official notice. Buck was gone from G-Unit. No conversation, no heads up, just a public body shot on the biggest hip-hop radio platform in the country. To Buck, this wasn't just a label situation. This was his family getting dissolved on live radio. But 50 wasn't done moving. He had one more piece to play. He leaked the private phone call, the exact same emotional conversation Buck had made from that van in Phoenix, and put it out for the whole world to hear. The internet heard Buck crying, heard him sounding vulnerable, heard him say he didn't want to be dismembered from the crew.
It f***ed me up, bro. Honestly, because I looked at 50 as a big brother. And I did become emotional on that phone call.
2008 hip-hop culture was ruthless with that kind of thing. Showing any type of softness got you cooked. The clip was everywhere. Blogs, radio, people laughing at it like it was entertainment. It was a calculated move to make Buck look weak. Buck fired back with taped conversation, calling out that the only people who record conversations are the feds, but you can't unring that bell. And now, with no G-Unit behind him, no shows, no budget, no infrastructure, Buck was solo. He tried to walk away from the label, but still owed albums on his contract. He was effectively blacklisted from major label deals. Nobody in the industry was going to sign someone locked in a war with 50 Cent in his prime. Free, but boxed in. Out here on his own with no real runway. And back home in Nashville, where this whole story started, the streets were as dangerous as they'd ever been. March 4th, 2012. Early morning, around 3 to 3:30 a.m., Buck was pulling out of La Bamba nightclub in South Nashville. His girlfriend, Kenyetta Rainey, was riding with him. The night had already been spicy. There had been a scrap inside the club between Buck and some other guys. Security squashed it. Everybody left around the same time. Some of them didn't go home. They followed the Escalade. On Interstate 24 near the Shelby Avenue exit, a white Chevrolet Tahoe pulled up alongside Buck's truck and let off 11 shots into the vehicle. 10 rounds didn't connect with anyone inside. One grazed Kenyetta Rainey in the shoulder. Buck pushed straight to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. She got treated and was home the same day. Buck went dark for a couple days. Then he surfaced on Twitter with this: "We all go through things in life. The things I'm experiencing are truly making me a better and stronger man. God is good. 11 shots. Almost lost his girl." And he came out the other side talking about growth. Nobody was ever arrested for that shooting. And the whole time, through all of this, the IRS had been running their own tally on Buck. Quiet, patient, waiting. The bill had been building for years, and they were about to come collect. The tax raid, the auction, and the slow crawlback. Here's the thing about Buck's story that makes it different from the average rapper downfall video. Most of those stories are one big thing. One bad deal, one arrest, one moment where everything turns. Buck's story isn't like that. His story is layer after layer, hit after hit, like somebody was determined to test exactly how much one person could absorb before they broke. And right when you think it can't stack any higher, the feds pulled up to his crib and started taking everything inside it. Brown had unpaid federal income taxes going back to 2006, 2007, and 2008. The government had been sending notices since 2008 and 2009. Nobody was making those payments. By the time the agents finally moved, the debt had swollen to somewhere between $300,000 and $305,000, stacked with penalties, interest, and fees on top of the original number. Buck later said he had trusted his people, accountants, lawyers, managers, to handle the business side while he stayed focused on making music. Whether that explains it fully or not, it doesn't change what happened next. August 3rd, 2010. Federal agents hit his lakeside home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. What they walked out with reads like a full-on inventory of a man's life. Recording equipment, a diamond and ruby chain, a $31,000 Breitling Bentley watch, white leather dining chairs, platinum plaques, computers, his kid's PlayStation, a Scarface poster off his wall, a craps table, a tattoo kit. They even touched items belonging to family members who lived in the house. The feds came through and stripped the whole place. A platinum-selling rapper standing there watching agents carry his children's PlayStation out the front door. Buck filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy protection on August 30th, 2010, trying to stop the sales and restructure what he owed. He listed a $5 million claim against G-Unit Associates as an asset. That was his last card. He pulled that first petition, then refiled on October 21st, 2010, listing assets at around $973,000 and liabilities just over $1.1 million. The very next day, October 22nd, Buck took the IRS to court, suing for his property back. His complaint said the raid made it impossible for him to generate income, damaged his personal life, and took things that were essential essential to his creative process. He came out swinging. The IRS hit back and called the whole bankruptcy a bad faith filing. Buck caught a temporary win in November. On November 5th, 2010, he got a delay on auctioning about $25,000 in seized items, conditional on paying the IRS $13,788.12 and confirming a repayment plan. But the whole structure was shaky. By mid-2011, the trustee was trying to build a deal around renegotiating contracts with G-Unit Records and Universal. G-Unit blocked it. The same label that had kicked Buck out 3 years prior was now standing in the way of the one exit he had left. October 20th, 2011, the trustee called it, convert the case to Chapter 7 liquidation. No more restructuring plans. No more negotiations. Time to liquidate everything and pay out what they could. And around this same time, Buck also caught a felony gun charge, a weapon tied to the IRS raid, convicted felon, illegal firearm. That was now sitting on top of everything else. May 2012, evicted from his Tennessee home. Then July 26, 2012 arrived, the day the government put young Buck's whole life on the auction block. Public IRS auction in Nashville. 80 to 90 people showed up to bid. Gold and platinum plaques on the table, that Scarface poster, the diamond watch, Royal Copenhagen figurines, fur coats, jewelry, and then the item that had to hit different, his 615 Cashville chain, the thing that represented everything he had built, everything Nashville had come to mean in hip-hop, sold for $12,300. Top item of the whole auction, his identity, gone for 12 stacks. Everything at that auction combined brought in just $53,000, and Buck was there in the building, watching the whole thing go down. He live-tweeted the auction and bought some of his own stuff back. The fur coat, the diamond and ruby chain. He posted, "I bought back the highest thing they auctioned off. I didn't have room for all the old shit. Low all. I'm too brand new," laughing on the outside, but the numbers don't lie. Years of platinum level work, tours, and grinding, and the government turned it into a $53,000 government sale. August 13th, 2012, Buck was on his way to federal prison in Yazoo City, Mississippi to serve 18 months on the gun charge. Released October 2013. While he was doing his bid, the bankruptcy trustee was collecting, pulling in $391,331.59, primarily from his music royalties. His old records were still generating, but that money went straight to creditors. IRS got theirs. Child support got paid. Most other creditors got crumbs or nothing. He came home with no crib, no possessions that amounted to anything, and no label deal to fall back on. And the situation with 50 still wasn't done. In July 2025, 15 whole years after the bankruptcy started, a court settlement forced Buck to pay 50 Cent about $200,690 from the estate, tied to a disputed $250,000 that 50 claimed was a loan back in 2009. Buck said it was an advance for an album. The court said it was a loan. 50 won, and Buck still wasn't done catching cases. October 2020, a domestic situation at his Hendersonville home with his girlfriend Lucretia Neal ended with Neal being charged with reckless endangerment after allegedly firing shots at Buck's vehicle. Days later, Buck caught charges of his own: domestic assault, vandalism over $10,000, and unlawful possession of a weapon as a convicted felon. This case dragged on for almost 6 years. April 2025, Buck got hit with 30 days in jail for 6 bond supervision violations. Supporters posted up outside the Sumner County Courthouse, calling out what they said was political targeting and police corruption. The people hadn't forgotten about Buck. January 8th, 2026, Buck took the plea deal, guilty on the domestic assault and the felony gun charge. 8 years sentenced, 30% suspended, the rest served on community corrections. No additional prison time. Credit for the 30 days he already sat in 2025. Drug and alcohol assessment required. No violent contact with Lucretia Neal. Forfeit the weapon. He walked out of that courtroom breathing free air, not in cuffs, but on a leash. As of March 2026, David Darnell Brown, 44 years old, still known as Young Buck to everyone who matters, is not behind bars. He's active on Instagram. He's dropping independent music through Cashville Records. In early 2026, he released a video for Up There. No major label, no G-Unit machine, no 50 Cent cosign, just him and the city that made him, doing what they've always done, making music, because when everything else gets taken, the music is the one thing they can't auction off. His rant aimed at the man he used to call Big Brother still lives on the internet for anyone who wants to hear it.
I just want the bag, bro. Not your bag, I want my bag, bro. Don't get in your feelings now, nigga.
He ain't rich, he ain't charting, he ain't on radio no more. But he's out here, still breathing, still rapping, still repping Cashville. The tragic fate of young Buck isn't one moment. It's 20 years of everything going wrong at once. A stabbing that locked in a felony, a loyalty that got him exiled, a phone call that got weaponized, a tax bill that emptied his house, a drive-by that almost took him off the map, and a court case that chased him for the better part of a decade before it finally closed. Most people fold under half of that. Buck took all of it and kept moving. Whether you call that a tragedy or a testament, that's on you. Love this video? Click on this card for more.